Hello everybody, welcome back to another Concours D'Elegance here in Detroit at the Detroit Institute of Arts. We've got plenty of vehicles from plenty of different countries and continents, and even plenty of race cars and concept cars. It's not Concours without a little bit of extra pizzazz. And let's start out with a surprisingly good representation of the Japanese. Normally they're sort of forgotten about, unfortunately, by Concours. Not this time, though. We had plenty of vehicles, including the Acura you saw there in the Integra Type R. Lots of Datsuns slash Nissans. So the 2000, you had the Silvia. There was a Skyline 2000 GTR, so it's not the R31 or R32 or so on and so forth. It's an earlier model, very early model GTR. Still looks great, though, especially in red with black highlights. Really nice. I didn't expect to see this because I didn't know what it was. The Nissan POW looks kind of like a K car that was supersized a bit. Always nice to see something new, especially if it's a little bit quirky, a little bit weird. But let's move on to the Americans. Now, again, huge range of vehicles from all sorts of American manufacturers, especially with the pre-war vehicles. You had things like Delahaye and Duesenberg. You had movie cars, or in this case TV show cars, like the AMC AMX 400 or the DMC 12 DeLorean. You had so many different manufacturers, it's hard to keep track. But once again, we're going to focus on the big three. They had a whole host of vehicles, even some designed by the legendary designer Gordon Burig, who designed this Tasco 1948 concept, which was the first ever T-top on a car. Fun fact. And yes, we're going to start out with Buick. They were celebrating their 120th anniversary. Didn't know Buick was that old, but there you go. The first car you saw there was actually one of the oldest surviving Buicks on the planet from 1905, the Model C. And they had plenty of vehicles over their long history, including Skylarks and gorgeous GSXs, and maybe not gorgeous, but brutally effective and stylish GNXs. Because when in doubt, Darth Vader it out and go faster than a Ferrari F40 while doing it. I think it's fantastic. Everyone loves the GNX. Cadillac also had plenty of vehicles, including the V16 and the Celestiq concept. It's nice having them in the past and the present side by side like that. Really interesting comparison to just see how it's evolved over the last 100 years or so. Now this is a very special Chevy Camaro because it's designed with the SS454 engine by Baldwin Motion, a tuning company so crazy the EPA actually banned them for violating all of their rules. Yeah, they only made 3 of them because of that ban, and this is one of those 3. It was also the inspiration for Starsky & Hutch's vehicle. Fun fact, which is ironic because it was a Ford and not a Chevy, but semantics. It's really nice to see a lot of concept cars from Ford and Chevrolet, like the Cougar 2 you see here, which looks suspiciously like a Corvette C2, I'm not gonna lie, or the Bernadette Cobra. I definitely pronounced that wrong, but if you're gonna build a sports car based off the Shelby Cobra and then not put it into production, you can at least have an interesting name. But whatever. Speaking of Shelbys, this is a GT350 Restro mod in the sense of a speed, so nice to see those. And there were plenty of Mach-Es, including one that I didn't think I'd be talking about, the Mach-E Rally. This is an actual production car. It's gonna go into production. It's got a swan neck rear wing on the roof. It's got more power, rally suspension, rally tires, cool paint job. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Mach-E is actually cool. And it was nice to see it, especially because a rallying SUV is so freaking weird, man. I kinda respect it. I didn't think I'd be saying that, but there you go. Dodge was up next, or as the Chrysler with the Dodge Challenger E-Body and the Plymouth Barracuda AAR from All American Racers. The Viper GTS-R from Le Mans, the Le Mans winner from 2000 was back. It's great to see the Le Mans winner in his full glory. I love looking at all the details and just how much of a race car it really was. Fantastic stuff. Now we're going to do the British coming up, but since they're right across the pond, I decided to look at France first because they didn't have many cars. They had the beautiful Alpine 610 Turbo, which is always nice to see, and they had a Talbot Sunbeam Alpine. Yes, that is its actual name, Talbot Sunbeam Alpine, which is super confusing, but I like seeing new cars, and it's got a belt for a hood latch, which is always fun. So let's get on to the British properly. We got Rolls-Royce, they had their Silver Shadow out, and they had the Spectre, their new all-electric luxury car that's as long as a building, and despite being a two-door, really nice looking, but kind of massive in every single way. The McLarens were not massive. The Artura is very well proportioned. I quite like it. It reminds me of the Lotus Emira. They also had their new 750 out in full display, the brand new one. And by brand new, I mean they just took the 720 badge, made it a 750, gave it a little bit more power and called it a day. I would personally much rather have the Jetta here, but, you know, a Jetta G20 is a little rarer than a 750 right now. This is even more rare, a Allard J2 Competition. It raced a few times in the SCCA, and it makes one hell of a noise. It's very loud. So we move on to the Germans. Now, normally I end with Porsche because I quite like Porsche a lot. I mean, the 911 still looks fantastic all these years later, and of course, seeing a 911, original 911 Targa, and the last air-cooled 911, the 993 Turbo, it's always great to see him. I love him to death. I especially like the 356. They had a great attendance, including this gorgeous all-black coupe, really clean, or Briggs Cunningham's Porsche 356 Roadster race car from, 1952? A legendary race car, got Porsche off the ground, but I'm not really talking about that today. At the end, that's what I'm starting out with, because Germany had some great cars on display, from the AMG GT Black Series to the BMW E30 M3 Evolution 2 with the cool fender flare body kit, the wing, the front splitter, perfect quintessential 80s. They even had an Alpina B10 bi-turbo, the 3.5-liter engine. So it was arguably, depending on how you view the Vauxhall Lotus Carlton, the fastest production sedan in the world when it came out, and it's got a cool paint job and a cool body kit, which automatically makes it a win. But my favorite German car was the BMW Isetta, because of course, if you have a BMW Isetta, it's brilliant, and it's automatically going to win the Best in Show. At least for the Germans. We'll get to the actual Best in Show later, because we're talking about the Italians. We're finishing off strong with the Italians, a huge section on this one. Lamborghini had a relatively reserved showing, if you can call a matte black Aventador SVJ that looks like an F117 Nighthawk reserved. But still, there was not a huge presence from Lamborghini, although I did not miss the Huracan Sturato. They may have lacked in quantity, but quality was fantastic. The Strato is an absolute mental machine. I mean, it's got a rally-tired, lifted, wide-body, mid-engine V10 rally car with rally fog lights. What more could you want? It's absolutely brilliant. I just wish it wasn't dark brown. Kind of a boring color, I'm not gonna lie. That's a much better color. That should have been the Lamborghini's color, but whatever. It's nice seeing an original Fiat 500, especially when right next to it was its brand new one, the 500e, which again, I kind of like the electric Fiat 500. Looks kind of cool. Looks kind of aggressive but cute in that sort of way. Sort of like the MX-5, the new one. In fact, the whole Fiat branch was fantastic, with Alfa Romeo rolling out their current 2023 Formula 1 car, the C43, which as of the time of writing this is getting on the start line for the Suzuka Grand Prix happening on Sunday. So there you go. Weird seeing a up-to-date 2023 Formula 1 car, but nice to see it nonetheless. But Ferrari stole the show. I mean, come on, it's Ferrari. The 296 GTB looks phenomenal. The 812 Competizione is a massive V12 rear-wheel drive, 800 horsepower Grand Touring monster, sort of like the F12 TDF from years gone by. I mean, it would probably give the 458 Challenge here a run for its money on certain tracks because it is so freaking powerful. But the classics were great too, let's not forget about them. We had the Dino 246, the Ferrari 330 GTC, which, as much as I love it, the front end kind of looks like a catfish. I know I probably just ruined it for you, but it does. I have to be blunt here, okay? The The 365 GTC4 does not have the catfish-looking front-end problem. It's absolutely stunning, especially in this candy apple, well, it's not candy apple, but dark red color. Stunning body lines on that thing. Easily one of my favorite-looking Ferraris ever made, which is kind of saying something, and yet you can't beat a 1963 Ferrari 250 GT California, especially when the normally $16 million cars were $70 million, because it's not just a Ferrari 250 GT California, it was Enzo Ferrari's personal Ferrari 250 GT California. I didn't take a picture of the picture, but the owners were sitting behind me, and they showed me a picture of them standing next to Il Commendatore himself. So seeing Enzo Ferrari's personal Ferrari on top of being a freaking 250 GT California and driving it on the road to Michigan, which is always a terrifying prospect, one of the best things I've ever seen. I expected a decent amount from this show. I expected some concept cars, I expected some classic cars. I did not expect to see Enzo Ferrari's personal Ferrari. That was a surprise. And actually hearing some of the cars on the road, seeing them drive by, means this is my favorite concourse I've ever been to. The only one that comes closest to time when they turn on the Chrysler Turbine car. I mean, it really is that impressive, and I can't wait for next year, because this is going to be a pretty high bar to beat.